This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
Because a lot of people need things repeated to them or drilled or beaten into their brains. I've been there. Sometimes repetition helps. And I want to point out again the cycles of human devolution and the cycles that we're mired in. Much of it ties into energetic stuff, but some of it ties into the behavioral stuff that ties into the energetic stuff. The behaviors towards children or in the family unit or whatever that tie into what it does to the mind of the developing children that then become cluster B. And then if they become cluster B, do you think they're going to raise their children to have morals and values and things of that nature? And one thing typically, not always, but to a large degree, one thing typically begets another. And when you consider the traumas that are held and retained in the subconscious mind by both men and women who do not know this about themselves and how we operate, will create a child themselves, imbuing into the child a measure of what's in each of the parents. And then if we do this generation by generation, completely lacking in the awareness of this, not sophisticated enough in whatever respect was necessary to understand these foundational truths of the human being, if we're feeding out energy out of our heads, out of our hearts, out of our beings, the auras, the field that surrounds us, what is it, 6 feet across, 3 feet in either direction, whatever, any of this stuff that they've been able to measure. If we interact with the reality in a particular way, and the reality is built in a particular way and we don't know its rules, we don't know the criteria upon which it responds. And, you know, for instance, we know hard stop. If you walk off the edge of a cliff, you're going to go splat on the rocks below. We know, there's certain things we know about the physical reality, but this other stuff, we don't actually know any of it. How we interact with the very reality and the field that connects us all in that context, and how it affects us. So if you can drive a whole lot of poisons into the human psyche through all the various mechanisms society provides the evil demons that do this, the ability to do it, if they're emanating out of their very being based off of what's in their mind, and a lot of it is trauma repressed into the subconscious that they're not even aware of, and then the collage of horror movies, horror shows, war movies showing death, destruction, murder, kill, always packaged and framed as the good guy getting the bad guy. But when you look at it in reality, oh, it's a vastly different thing that's happening upon the earth. And I would argue that a lot of what's perpetuating these behaviors out of human beings is a byproduct of what's pumped into their heads. And when we're doing this generation by generation, because mom and daddy did it, and their daddy did it, and their daddy before them, whatever it is that we're doing repeatedly that's not helping us to evolve or grow in any fucking meaningful way, so the systems that these people create upon the earth can keep grinding us into the fucking proverbial hamburger that it intends for the herd animals, in a very literally metaphorical kind of way, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Could that actually make sense? So we're getting stuck in these loops, and they're capitalizing on our ignorance, on our lack of sophistication of understanding of how we operate and interact with this reality, all the way down to the level of how we treat each other, how we interact with each other, how we treat our children, the understanding of that process of imbuing into children. The goddamn dark side has it, and look at what they've been doing, creating their satanic, ritually abused people with fractured minds that they can use as Manchurian candidates and all this other kind of shit. Look at what the dark side knows about human beings that human beings don't know about themselves. They've weaponized all their fucking knowledge relevant to that, and then humans remain unaware of these things about themselves. This is why I've been saying for 6 or 7 years now, 5, 6 years now, humans, know thyself. Because it's everything about you that you don't know about yourself, in the most literal and true of ways. And I'm not talking about your tastes and shit like that. How you operate as a fucking human, your mind, you can't touch it. It's a real thing. And if it turns into hammered shit through something that fucks it all up, you're fucked. your psychology, and all that stuff. And if that gets hammered, look at the people in the world. Look at Hollywood people. Britney Spears, perfect example. Somebody whose mind got damaged and fucked. Other people. Who was that dude that went into the Colorado movie theater and shot things up years ago with the red hair and his eyes bulging out of his head? These people get mind fucked. And you can see the damage, and it generates behavior. All of this non-physical stuff, perceptions, beliefs, it's kind of a big deal. That's kind of a really, 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 really massively big deal. Yet you can't get humans to see and understand collectively the gravity of the importance of their perceptions and what beliefs they do have being accurate, rather than fuck beliefs and humans acquire knowledge. Humans don't innately understand or recognize the distinction between knowledge and beliefs, or beliefs and knowledge, and the transcendent journey it is, because it is. When you start breaking through the barrier of beliefs into knowledge and gnosis, well, your paradigm starts to fracture, your belief systems and everything that you thought. Because when you come to know shit and it defies all the things that you believe, there's going to be a point where it all comes crashing down. So the transcendent journey of going from a beliefs-based human to a knowledge-based human, in as much as you can affect that, is one that encompasses a lot of psychological work, paradigm-shattering stuff, and then the actual work that's required of all human beings to acquire knowledge that they can use to reform their paradigm after going through a paradigm-shattering moment, while you transition from the beliefs that have been put into your head into a state of knowledge and gnosis, to whatever degree you can affect that through your diligent efforts to learn, to teach yourself, to acquire knowledge that isn't beliefs-based, experiential and or book knowledge, and other places and spaces where humans can acquire knowledge. But typically it's going to be, learning, books, other people, and experience. And I'll be damned when you look at how the human being is built, and their psyche, and their beliefs, the barrier that becomes, their ego, their pride, and how that shit gets in the way. Because, hey, we're all like to think we're smart, right? We can't be the one that got fooled. We can't be that stupid fool. I've been that stupid fool. We can't be these things. Pride, ego gets in the way. It's fucking crazy that it's so hard to get through to our own goddamn kind. And for those of us that have made that transcendent journey from gnosis, or from beliefs to knowledge and gnosis, to whatever degree we are, hanging onto that cliff of knowledge, standing upon it, whatever it is, trying to get through to those that still suffer from beliefs. And then there's a distinction between the types of beliefs that keep humans trapped in a fucking mind cage, and the types of beliefs that can actually empower a human being to transcend an obstacle. Or maybe they're not beliefs. Maybe internally they actually know it. It's just framed for them as a belief. They've never contemplated this stuff, and they're actually being driven by something they know internally. But I don't want to digress on that. So the loop of creating the cluster B spectrum, this is literally coming out of the parental unix, with the exception of the primary psychopath. That's a fucking devolution of morals, values, and care for our own offspring. That's abysmal. I cannot honestly believe the gods have not come back, because we're in such a hideous position and condition that we've done what we've done to our own offspring in the ways that we have, creating the entirety of the cluster B spectrum, who effectively shift over to more or less a demonic fucking polarity, and are opened up through the damage that was most likely done to them as children, energetically, for demonic manipulation. There's strings pulled. There's a varying array of ways it could apply when you consider the model Father Ripperger gives people, and how the traumas that children endure as children, physically, sexually, and all this other type of stuff, how that tears them open. And then a lot of humans that interact with them when they become adults say they're fucking like living demons. They behave like demons and all this other shit. Isn't it interesting, the correlations that can be made? So we're stuck in a loop collectively of creating the cluster B, because there's been such a moral devolution and in such a lack of understanding of the very fucking fundamentals and the importance of raising a human child, and that they become the next generation. And when we're producing generations of fucking cluster B people, we're creating the next generations of people that are going to try to vie for positions of power to take over the fucking world and all this other shit, and maintain and manage the fucking corrupt systems that are upon the earth. Because most of the people that you could see on the cluster B spectrum lack this fundamental thing of a conscience and a moral compass and the ability to feel guilt, shame, and remorse. Therefore, they can and do as evidenced by the way the world works, the most hideous and horrible shit that only psychopaths would do to a population of people that would never want these things. They're imposing their will because they see themselves as so great, because they have money, because their souls were so corrupt as to do what they needed to do to acquire that level of money in the quote-unquote devil's world. I mean, Satan's world. Whatever it is they tell you had dominion over this earth before we even got here. What do you think that implies? And then running all around all over the goddamn world is the devil's children, isn't it? Shitting on and poisoning everything that is good, pure, wholesome, the values, the principles, the morals, the ethics, everything. Everything that gave our societies and our civilizations in the Western world the glue, the cohesiveness, the homogeneity necessary to do and create great and wonderful civilizations based off of social trust and social things like that, where children could run around free. And look at how all that's been fucking devolved and diluted and corrupted and poisoned and being shit on by cultures entering into our countries that didn't do any of that stuff. Their societies where they come from still have not reached that level of evolution amongst themselves. And then the Jews and their Jewish money and all these billionaires are funding these people coming into all of our Western world countries, devolving it. Your God doesn't do anything for you. Team Light Side doesn't do anything for you. Team Good Side seems to not exist in this fucking world. And the obvious and overt culling, that can take place and humans won't rise up against it. The obvious and overt lies and deception of the media consistently over time, and these people are paid well to do what they do. Your government's all going so fucking rogue right in front of your faces. And then all the agencies and motherfuckers that work for them are complicit, and probably their souls are just as corrupted. We've had it revealed to us in the entirety of the world that the entirety of the pyramid of power, their souls are corrupt, they like children, they're all compromised, they're either bought and paid for, on the take in that way. They've been corrupted with power, money, pussy, children, and all of these types of things. It's in all of our faces. Every time you fucking pick your head up from the grazing that we're all doing, trying to graze and, meaning get up, go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes, get up, go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes, get up, go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes, and raise those kids. Get up, go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes. That whole fucking grazing that we're all having to do to simply fucking survive and live on the planet we were born on because, well, we weren't really born on a planet that was designed for us. Somehow we wound up in the quote-unquote devil's world. And the devil's children have literally had positions of control and power all through it. From the days of the money changers, for certain, at least in as much as what history we do have will reveal to us. We keep going through cycles of war. You'd think as an intelligent species capable of the things that we are, you'd think we'd realize what war got us thousands of years ago and somehow stop that. But since psychopathy seems to be running and ruling the motherfucking world, and ignorance is the predominant fucking psychological profile in the fucking world to an extent, that they're so easily able to get their armies together and muster and go and fucking kill and fight in other fucking countries and all this shit simply because they're able to program ignorant minds that aren't aware. Humans are born blank and programmable, and if you're born into a town where it's like rah, 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 you come from a military family, and that's what Ma and Pa did, and everybody in high school's going out, and they're all going and doing it. Might as well. And then figure out the damage that you did and the thing when you come back. And this creates the rise of the suicide rate that we see. Apparently, the moral compulsion kicks in after the fact because they get children so young. They get children, they get them right out of high school. And think of the ones that come back and carry with them what they did and have that moral compulsion finally kick in. This tears families apart. This tears minds. It does so much horrible shit. Another cycle that we should not be mired in because we should have figured out as an intelligent species long ago, thousands of years ago, what war gets us, the damage it does. But psychopaths look at it as a mechanism for conquest and empire building. And the stupid, ignorant fucking fools that everybody else is that joins their fucking armies and goes and fights in their fucking wars. So the cycles of war, the cycles of what we're producing in the family unit, producing the next generations of the cluster B spectrum, and then the cycles that we're not even aware of we're going through celestially and what that does to us, and then the energy that we're putting out that really matters, and the way in which it's not really a cycle, it's a direct interaction type thing that I think could run us through cycles of a lot of unpleasant shit when when you really think about it, a predominant amount of, if not the predominant amount of what's coming out of most people or a lot of people in their conscious and subconscious mind is a lot of really negative shit. Whether it's their traumas that they've been carrying around like a rotting sack of flesh kind of thing, stinking and they're doing all this stuff, or whether it's the stuff they're carrying around in their conscious mind about how fucked up the world is. If, from an energetic perspective, what's emanating out of us is like, the negative shit, because it's all we're taking in, plus it's what's stuck in the recesses of our subconscious mind, and then the way we interact with the field, if it's responding back to us in a collective way, in a metaphysical way that we don't know, we can't account for. Why do a lot of people upon this earth believe that there's a metaphysical component to reality in the way in which we interact with the field and the field interacts with us? A lot of the New Agey people call it the universe and stuff, and I don't necessarily buy into their version of it, but I think there might be an element to the field, and that being partially what they're talking about, the universe doing things, because the field interacts with us in the way that we don't understand. If we believe or know demons exist, but we can't tell how they fucking exist because they're part of the field, they're non-physical, they're incorporeal. Or their manipulation is non-physical and incorporeal. Like, what the fuck is it? How does this work? Well, there's an awful lot we can't account for, but we know it fucking happens and exists. And we've given it certain labels that we don't even necessarily know. It's just the best label that everybody seems to collectively understand. That means a certain common type of entity that you can't account for, but you can account for it. It does a certain thing, and it's always negative and degrading and blah, 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 blah. And hey, by the way, Ripperger says your God that you worship uses those instruments of his own. They're instruments of God to bludgeon you upon the life to draw you closer to God. Because that makes all kinds of sense to a human being that's actually thinking critically about, well, it's God, if it calls it that, its worship of said God, and the psychopathy that is so obvious in the fucking whole concept of using quote-unquote demons, non-physical things to destroy your life in all the ways that Ripperger explains. Your mind, your emotions, your psychology, people in your life, your fucking finances, your fucking blah, 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 all those things he said to draw you closer to God Daddy. Because that's the way the God Daddy shows you how much he loves you, right? Think about it. It's fucking absurd. It's absurd what you can do to humans. It's absurd what you can do to a species that's born blank and programmable. It's absurd what you can do to them when you program their minds, their beliefs, their perceptions. It's absurd how they can be driven into a state of collective unconsciousness and an unwillingness or incapability, have it not blossomed in them yet, of thinking critically, thinking for themselves, analyzing the things they're told in contrast to what actually unfolds in reality, etc., etc., etc. Well, if we had a world that was full of people like that, the corona hoax wouldn't have actually been the corona hoax. It would have been something that everybody would have recognized as the most stupid fucking ridiculous attempt, and just not done it, and probably to put everybody that attempted to deceive the world like that in the guillotine or in the rope, in the gallows, something like that. Because we would have understood, because we were all collectively conscious and aware and thinking and all that other stuff, recognized what they were trying to do. And the lows that is, trying to deceive the whole world and make billions off of it, and then live amongst them after you've done it to them, and then they didn't do anything to you at all. And you use the governments that you corrupted by dangling children in front of them and like literally getting them to do shit on children with children on camera, and they all just tolerate it. They all just accept it. The people that fucking rape children and do the things they do to children and all the Baal and Moloch type worshipful stuff they do with children, that, holy shit, they're all just tolerant or they're ignorant to truly who it is. They still see them as the regular people because they don't have the glasses, like they live, and it was shown to you and they live. The masses don't have the ability to see. They don't have the eyes to see. We need the fucking apocalypse to transcend down upon the earth. I didn't say Armageddon. That might come afterwards when humans all awaken and make that happen. But the apocalypse, I think that veil has been lifting for kind of a while now. But I think it needs to happen exponentially higher rates to just tear the fucking veil off of people's eyes and show the world who people truly are in the way that the glasses, or the removing of the signal in the They Live movie. At the very end, the big reveal. We need that was an apocalypse right there that descended upon the whole world when the signal was broken. The big revealing, the big unveiling when the signal was killed. You could almost, that's kind of an apocalyptic moment right there. We need something like that because they exist everywhere among us. And remember, humans, there is no God coming to save you. There is no God that loves you for anything other than a menu item and the amount of nourishment that it can acquire from your existence in a certain context. There's no Jesus coming to save you. There's no aliens coming in a spaceship. There's no inner earth beings coming to do anything but maybe devour humans. And the demons that supposedly envelop the earth, and the ones that were turned into demons after they were the Nephilim, that whole story, all of those were the children of the God, the angels of the God, or the children of the demigods of the God, quote unquote, of the children or the sons of God created their children. Those all, they say those are all the demons. So look at the hideous nature of the world that we're fucking in because of the supposed God that put everybody in here and created this reality, or knew the reality that it was put in. Fertile with demons and malicious entities to molest your lives and your minds and all those non-physical parts of your being without the senses to perceive it. And you just get to experience the carnival ride, your shows and realities, your shows, your lives. And I wonder if that was a Freudian slip. Am I in a Truman Show? Is this really a fucking Truman Show? You better hope it's not a Truman Show. I'll hunt you all like feral hogs and pick you off one by one, like they do with a 300 blackout in a helicopter shooting feral hogs. I mean it with every fiber of my being and every aspect of my being. If this is a Truman Show and something like that's going on in my fucking life, you motherfuckers better pray I never figure it out. Because I'll be goddamned if it doesn't feel an awful like something like that. And if there's some motherfucker that's been fucking with my life like Ed Harris does in that movie, motherfucker, I'm gonna boil your fucking head. Maggot. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Back to you, Peter. So it boggles the mind to be a part of a species that you literally can't get fucking through to them. Especially amidst the last 6 to 6.5 years. And people talk about the Great Awakening, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's only just begun, if it's begun at all. People have an awful lot more of a road to go before they truly awaken to the gravity of the whole fucking thing. And then apparently, humans will never ever again get off their ass to do anything for their freedom, for their rights, or any of their world to be not raped and molested by psychopaths, unless or until it becomes that painful. And if the psychopaths do it right, like they told you in that movie from like 1976 or something, what was it, The Network? That all boredoms will be amused and everybody will have their share of stock, their little digital currency, and all anxieties will be tranquilized. And it looks like they've effectively gotten people there so that as they're running the dick further up the ass of mankind, well, they get kind of used to it and stuff. In fact, it would appear that humanity's been thrusting backwards upon that thing. Humanity's just like, give it to me harder, Demon Lord. Give it to us harder. Then remember, boys and girls, how much your God loves you. That Jesus is coming to save you, the King of the Jews. Look at that. Everybody, what the fuck? Allah's got that pussy paradise for you when you die. In Lakesh, namaste. Aho. We're all so spiritual and stuff now, aren't we? Living our spiritual lives where our guardians and our ancestors are just guiding our every path in life. And the angels are just guiding you, and your spirit guides are just nudging you. And the sickness and the delusion within the minds of humans and the Wetiko infestation is off the fucking charts.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.